Hi, I'm Bill Steele. I'm co-director of Proyecto Espeleologico Sistema Huautla, PESH we call it, and this is a recap of our 2016 expedition. We'll talk about exploration, and kind of a unique aspect of caves is that it's original exploration. We're the first people to go somewhere. That's not easily done in this world anymore. 4,000 people have climbed Mount Everest. 200 people in one day summited Mount Everest. That's a feat that I'm impressed by, and I've met some people that have done it, but it's different. When you're the first person to go there, especially in a cave where you can't get satellite photos or figure your route out on a map, you gotta go to know. It's a whole different world when you're the first person there and you're figuring it out as you go. So the first person to enter one of the Huautla caves was a caver from Austin, Texas in June of 1966. He rappelled into the entrance of Sótano de San Agustin, one of 20 entrances, the big, most dramatic one, easiest to find. That was 50 years ago this year. And ever since then, not every year, but almost every year since then. And in one year, we had 3 expeditions in 1977. Big year for cave exploration. Almost every year since then, there has been exploration happening, which is, through the years, pieced together one of the greatest caves in the world. Some people say the greatest cave in the world. I think that, and I've been in a lot of caves. As it stands now, it's the deepest cave in the Western Hemisphere. It's the 8th deepest cave in the world, and it is the longest of the 17 deepest caves in the world, which is actually a big deal, because the deepest cave in the world is in the Republic of Georgia, former Soviet Union, overlooking the Black Sea. It's got 2 deep routes, actually 1 and another entrance that connects midway down. You could call that 1 route with 2 entrances. Sistema Huautla's got 20 entrances, 20 routes, and my guess is when it's all said and done, it'll probably have 50 entrances, 50 deep routes. It's a big cave, and it's very deep, and it's got big rooms. So it's a pleasure to explore it, but it's also a challenge to figure out the riddle of it. And we've explored enough of it now that we've explored 75.5 kilometers, which is 46 miles. We've explored enough of it that we can see patterns in the geologic development, but it also doesn't always stay true to that. So there can be surprises. And then you figure out after you find it why it's there. And that's kind of the joy of it, is you get to explore, you kind of think you know where you're going, but then once you go there, then you figure it out. So this year, we concentrated on the La Grieta section, and this is the 3rd year in a row. Last year, we also did some work in the Sótano de San Agustin section. So we had 2 sections going last year. This year, we had 1. And we had like 4 different areas of La Grieta, which is kind of on the eastern flanks of the cave system, with 2 entrances, the eastern part of the system. We had a section 100 meters deep, we had a section 400 meters deep, and we had a goal of going back to a section 600 meters deep and established in a deep camp. The latter never happened, and the reason it didn't is because other things were found that kept our focus. Before we went on this year's expedition, and in a video interview, I talked rather excitedly about the Mexaguilla area, discovered at the end of last year's expedition with world-class formations, looked like it was going to open up a whole new section of the cave. Fizzled. It didn't go much of anywhere. What was seen last year was kind of it. They got some nice photographs, there's some nice formations, but everything kind of pinched down. Well, that's the way it goes. Camp 3 and the booming big tunnel going to the north. At first this year looked like it was going to fizzle and not do much. And it took 2 underground camps before the route was found. Now that's the most exciting exploration discovery of this year, is we have extended the cave system to the most northernmost point for the first time since 35 years ago. 35 years ago, we explored the highest entrances. That was the northernmost point. Now, we're beyond that and much lower, which, if you understand cave development, and especially a deep cave that's following the strike of the rock, if the cave system as known right now has the highest entrances up here, and then it pretty much goes down the strike like that, we're below that now, and we're farther to the north, but we're deeper, which means it's going to go farther and then come up. And that's what they experienced at the end of their 9-day underground camp at Camp 3, was that it was starting to go up. So they were doing face climbs, bolt climbs, and where they turned around because they were out of time, out of food, out of battery power for headlamps and so forth, they could hear big water. And when you hear big water in a cave system, that's exciting. There's a rumble to it, and you know that that's an underground river that they weren't in. So there's something that they're not seeing up the dome and off to the side. And we go there in April, so it's the driest month of the year, and you're hearing big water. That water is only bigger the rest of the year. So we're into a major section of the cave that we haven't even seen yet. I don't know what other realm of exploration could say the same thing, and that is, well, we heard it. What would that be? You know, I don't know. I can't think of one. So in cave exploration, that's kind of neat because it was heard but not seen, and it'll be seen next year. Another thing we did, as I just illustrated with my arm, the highest known entrances to the cave systems, called Nitananda. Nitananda means water cave in Mazateco, the language of the local people there. Those entrances were found back in 80, 81, connected to the system, made it, you know, one of the deepest caves in the world. We hadn't been back up there in many years. I tried to find some of those entrances 23 years ago and couldn't. We didn't have GPS locations for them. We just had memory. And things had changed. Trees were growing where there had been cornfields and so forth. This year, we went up there with a sophisticated GPS. We're going to find those entrances, and we just kept going back until we figured it out. And we did. There are 4 entrances. Of the 20 of Sistema Huautla, 4 of them are up in this highest point. One of them's higher than the other 3. And that's the highest entrance to the system. We found them all and got good GPS readings, but we also found a couple other caves that we didn't know about, which were a little bit higher. One of them was explored and branched out and not connected to the system, but I think that will happen next year. Then there's a cave named Nitatinzo, and Nitatinzo in Mazateco means goat cave, because goat herder showed us to the entrance, and he herds goats around on that side of that mountain. That's really exciting geologically because there's a closed valley. And what I mean by that is there's a deep, pronounced valley that's had a lot of water draining into it for many, many thousands of years with no outlet. So it's like a bathtub. Where's the water go? Something formed this valley. Where's the water always gone? Well, there's a cave underneath it, and it's right off of the eastern flanks of the deepest part of Sistema Huautla. We've been trying really hard for years to find a way into the cave that's beneath this valley, but there was no major entrance. Well, there's this little cave called Nitatinzo that's got a 50-meter entrance drop, dead end, but Tommy Shiflett, the co-leader of PESH, I'm a co-leader, he's a co-leader, he swung over to the wall and found a narrow little crack that people have gone back to now and then for 3 years, and making it a little bit bigger, hammering here, hammering there, and finally they squeezed through this year and they dropped a pit and they picked up a huge airflow, and we think we're into it. So that's something very exciting for next year. As I said before, the first cavers to go into one of the entrances of what is now Sistema Huautla went 50 years ago this year, 1966. Beginning in 1968, all expeditions have based in the same village, and that's the one right above that entrance, right above Sótano de San Agustín, and the village is named San Agustín, Zaragoza. We've always rented houses there, always stayed in the same village, until this year. And this year, we decided to change surface operations because of us working the La Grieta entrance. There's a little village that last year invited us to relocate over there. They said, you know, they'd find housing, they'd get water to us. We would like it. So we took the step this year. We were 9/10 of a mile from the entrance of La Grieta, 20-minute walk. Last year it was a 3.5-hour walk back to San Agustín, and several people did it in the middle of the night. This year it was a 20-minute walk, easy walk, not even that steep. And it was just a relief to be in a new place with really friendly people, very quiet, kind of isolated, not on a main road. You know, the big news of the day is a car drove through. And like being out in the rural countryside of someplace in the United States. It was just really different. One thing about it, though, was that it's also a vortex, which we had no way to know that strong winds can blow through there. And the first 2 nights we were there, some of us decided to sleep up on the roof of the concrete house, and there was rebar sticking up to tie down the tents to, and I got a good Mountain Hardware tent. You know, I welcome any storm because it's not going to hurt the tent. Well, I thought it was going to destroy my tent. 2 nights of that with 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds and 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and besides, I couldn't sleep because of the wind. So I ended up packing up and moving inside. Others did. Others stuck it out on the roof. I was there at the beginning, so there was still room in the house for me to move in. Later, there wasn't that much room. We were little crowded in housing, and I think they're going to have more housing for us next year. So some people stuck it out. And when there were strong winds at night, you know, that was the topic at breakfast, was how well did you sleep last night, and how's your tent doing? Everybody had good tents, so nothing got torn up, but you wondered when you were in it. Yeah, Plan Carlota was a good move, and we'll be moving back to that village next year. The 2016 expedition has concluded. It was the 3rd one of 10 that we're planning to have. Already, within a week of having left the field, we're talking about objectives for next year, and I'm hearing from people already that want to be a part of it. So we've got momentum, and we've got a great cave to continue exploring.